Hey, good morning, guys. It's really good to have you again. Thank you for stopping by and, checking out my ramble for today. Regardless, though, it's nice to have you. Today, what date is today? Today is July. It's Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. Yeah, and if you have been following me, I am creating a daily vlog, so to speak. It's a diary of my life. I'm documenting just my thoughts on a daily basis and, you know, talking about the things that are affecting me, the things that excites me, the things that, bother me, the things that I'm looking forward to, um, and just exploring different topics here and there. Occasionally, I will kind of give you a sneak peek into what my day is like. You know, a day in the life of Bucky, a day in the life of Owen. Yeah, so welcome. It's good to have you. And so I've been thinking about this thing, because I'm a deep thinker, right? Sometimes I think I overthink, if you know what I mean. I think too much sometimes, too deep sometimes, to the point of stressing out myself over the what ifs. But anyway, I'm not talking about the what ifs today. Today I want to talk about worldview. What is the real meaning of worldview? I'm not even sure, but I think it's the way we look at the world around us. We look at how society is structured. We look at how everything is organized in the world, and how it affects us, and how it kind of inform our decision making. So in other words, I think our worldview somewhat is somewhat kind of inform our decision making, and how we look at the world. We look at society in general, you know, and maybe form a conclusion, so to speak. That's my you know um, definition or of worldview. May probably be wrong, but maybe you can expand in the comments what exactly is a worldview. I could go check in the dictionary, but I think I am onto it somewhat. So what is your worldview? How do you how do you look at life? How do you look at society? What are some of the things that inform your decisions in life? What are some of the things that that determines how you approach life? What are some of the conclusions that you may have arrived at based on how you view society and view the world, right? Um, yeah. So I have a little thing here that I wrote some notes in, and it's just questions. On this topic, questions that I'm asking myself, and probably asking you to. For example, is your worldview based on skepticism? Meaning, um, are you the kind of person who is kind of cynical and you are suspicious of everything? Um, you know, you're very um, you're a standoffish kind of person, because you're just the kind of person who believe that somebody is out to get you, or society is out to get you, you know because of what is happening, and the things that are happening. It may be in government, it may be in an organization that you are, it may be the way that you think, that people think, It may be the way that or the perception that you have about the way people might think about you, you know, wrong or right. So is your worldview, is it kind of based on skepticism and a little bit of cynicism, so to speak? I love to know, because if we approach life that way, then it can have a negative. I'm just gonna say it may have a negative impact on how we go about our daily lives. So yeah, that's a question I'd love to kind of pick your brain on, in terms of your worldview and how you you go about your life, so to speak. Yeah. There are a couple of questions here I have. So what is your daily reality? How does life treat you? What is the reality for your life on a daily basis? Is it a life of abundance? Is it a life of struggle? Is it a life of trying to make ends meet? Is it a life where you not just to piggyback on what I said before, where there's a lot of distrust? What's your reality? Do you find that you're achieving? Do you find that you're meeting your objectives in life? And if so, based on all these little questions, how does it affect your worldview? How does it affect the way you approach life each and every day? How do these things affect the way you look at society and how society is kind of structured? And because a lot of people's worldview is that is based around the fact that many of the things that they see today, or many of the things that are happening in the world today, it may be relationship topics, it may be topics around employment, it may be generational trends, but some people think a lot of these things are, I'm trying to remember the right word that is used, but they are man-made, they are fabricated, right? And I'm trying to find the right word, but it just won't come to mind right now. It's when you think about gender and gender identity and all those kind of stuff, the way people look at gender and how people view, the issue of gender nowadays, which is causing so much division and anger and when you look at what is happening in the world with wars and rumors of war, when you look at what is happening with climate change and how that is affecting the world in general, how does it affect your outlook? How does that how does all of these things kind of inform your worldview? What kind of conclusions do you arrive at, and how do you move on every day? How do you approach your day based on all of these topics? Are you the kind of person who just accept things for what they are? Are you the kind of person who thinks that life is full of changes, so therefore you're just gonna go along with the change? I'm just gonna move my camera around a little bit here because I realize that there's a little bit too much light in my face, so I'm just gonna shift it around here. Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, when you look at what is going on in society, the trends and oh man, my vocabulary is letting me down right now. It's funny how when you wanna expand on certain things and you don't want to script certain things, you will just wanna talk. Sometimes the words just won't come. But yeah, but society has definitely changed. Things are so different. We are living in a digital and connected society. We are living in a world where everybody can touch base with anyone as long as you have cell phone and a cell phone or a laptop or whatever and internet. We're living in the information age, right? The things that were hidden in the past, many things that were hidden in the past are now out in the open for everybody to see, everybody to chime in on, everybody to have an idea about, everybody to give their 2 cents on. Yeah. So how do these things affect your worldview or the way you approach life? Has your worldview changed? Has it changed as you get older? It's a question I want to ask. Has your worldview changed? Have you had to modify your worldview? Can you modify your worldview? But like I said, I'm a deep thinker, and some of the stuff I think about, I wonder if they make sense, because I'm not a scholar or anything, right? I'm not a scholar. I just love to delve into my deep down into my brain, because I don't know, I'm different. I don't believe in just existing. I believe in you know in thinking about stuff and sharing my opinions here and there. Yeah. So things have definitely changed. So much has changed since I was born. I'm 60 now, going 61, and this is what, like 2 generations. Do they say? Is it like every third year is a generation? Yeah. So I have lived 2 generations already. So I think my worldview might have evolved, so to speak. But let's move on here. And there's a couple topics here. We're talking about our daily reality and how our daily reality, affect our worldview, or our view of the world. A worldview I think is mainly an opinion, and how these opinions we have kind of affect the way our outlook, and we draw certain conclusions based on these things. But let's talk about religion, politics, diseases, wars, and equality. And I'm sure we have touched on some of these things already. But how does religion affect your worldview? Really, how does it affect your worldview? I mean, are you the kind of person who believe that okay, you're more or less an evolutionist? I am a creator. I'm a what's the right word? Well, I'm the kind of person who believes. I believe in creation, right? But I think things have evolved over the years. There's some evolution that has happened in terms of the way things have changed over centuries and millions of. This is a complicated thing, guys. Politics. It's complicated. maybe it's a topic I should even bother to touch on, as someone who believes in creation. But how does religion affect your worldview? Do you believe there's a God? I believe there's a God. I believe there's a higher power. I believe that there's a God, you know. But how does believing in a God and not believing in God affect your worldview? That's the question I'm asking this morning. It's not about religion, but how does religion affect your worldview? How does politics? What about politics? How does that worldview? Do you think politics is just a corrupt thing, and politicians are just out to get whatever they can for themselves? What do you think? Do you think one of the word I was trying to find this morning or earlier in this conversation is this phrase called the social structures. Social structures. Yeah, that has been a word that has been thrown around a lot over the last maybe 5 years. That many of these institutions are things that are happening in this culture are just social structures. But how are some of these things affecting your has it affected your worldview? Have they affected your worldview? Yeah, so politics. What do you think of politics and religion and talking about illnesses and diseases? How do these things affect your worldview? Diseases, for example. Do you think that big pharma, they may have cures for many of these diseases already, but because they will lose money or they can't pay their shareholders, big dividends if they find cures, or if they should release these cures for some of these so-called incurable diseases. Do you think a lot of these big pharma companies are holding on to cures which they know about, but they would rather people suffer and die just to make a profit? And if so, how does it affect your worldview? All the diseases that are happening in the world, and there's a possibility that people could be living happily ever after because there are cures for them. And but for the sake of money, these cures are hidden. What do you think? Let's talk about wars. All of these wars that are happening, and whether or not you think some of these wars were created wars. When I say created, they were fabricated in order to I'm not trying to create conspiracy theories here, guys, but sometimes one have to think about some of these stuff that happens in society, and how whether or not there may be people in higher places who are informing some of these decisions and some of these wars that are going on, and whether or not they are kind of fabricated, so to speak, just to achieve a certain goal, if you know what I'm talking about. So how do you look at wars and how wars may affect your worldview as they're happening today? Let me know. And the last big one I'd like to talk about, and I think this one is huge, and it's the issue of inequality and equity. Those are two words I think you should do a deep dive into: inequality or equality and equity, equality and equity, because they totally mean something totally different, right? But today I want to talk about inequality, right? And the lack of equity, in society, and how that has affected my worldview. Because I think that there is so much to go around, for so many people, for everybody. I believe that there is enough food in the world. I believe that, push come to shove, a lot of famines that are happening are needless. When you think about the few that have so much in the world, and the majority of the world's population that have so little, it bugs me, and it affects my worldview. It affects the way I look at society, and the way things are structured in society. I know this is a long conversation, guys. I think I'm going almost 20 minutes or more now. But yeah, I'm just curious about how equity and inequality affects your worldview. How do you how does it affect the way you look at life and the way the world is structured, you know, these days, because there's so much happening. And I think that sometimes people are suffering needlessly. Sometimes I think hunger is unnecessary. Unnecessary in the sense that you look at the amount of food that goes to waste every day. You look at the amount of money that is being spent on wars. The billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that are being spent on defense. NATO is telling Canada that they need to spend over 2% of our GDP on defense. You know how much money that is? All these these weapons that are being stockpiled and just the amount of money that is being spent on defense, in the name of defense, year after year after year. I am 60 now, and I'm thinking about the days of the Cold War, when how much billions or millions, back days it was millions of dollars, were being spent on weapons or weapon build-up on a daily basis. It's crazy, and on the other hand, you look at, so many countries and the little or nothing that they have, and how people are struggling, and people are starving to death. People are going to bed hungry. People are dying of diseases, and yet countries, these big industrial countries like where I'm living, we are spending so much unnecessary, in my opinion, unnecessary money on defense and wars and these things. I'm not discounting that we do not need to protect ourselves, or any country for that matter. But I think some of these things, it's out of proportion, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. Crazy. Anyway, that's just my ramble for today. Thanks for listening to this entry into my diary. But it gives you, I think it gives you an insight in the way I think and the way I approach life, and Just some of the things that goes through my mind on a daily basis. You know, like I said, I'm a deep thinker. I'm not an intellectual. I'm not a scholar. But I love to think. You know, and you know, um, our worldview will definitely affect the way we approach life and our outlook on life and the kind of conclusions that we draw about life, about society, and how society is structured, and the social structures that are possibly in place today. And yeah, so that's where I'm kind of going with this. I hope this was kind of food for thought this morning, and tune in again tomorrow and the next day and the next day, because I have a lot of stuff to talk about. You know there's so much we can talk about, guys. So I just put my phone here on my tripod, and I just talk to my phone like I'm talking to you, have a little conversation. All right, so until my next chat, you take care of yourselves, have a blessed day, and stay positive. All right, take care.